Hi, I'm Pam, and this is my monthly update video letting you know everything that I was up to in the month of September. So the biggest update from September was just how selling my collection is going. If you've seen my last few videos, they've been about how I'm looking to sell some things. So in September, I went to the Barrie Game Exchange and tried to sell what I could. And overall, it went pretty well. I think the show was less busy than usual. For some reason, the springtime show seems to be more populated than the fall show, but it went pretty well overall. My big seller was NES. I sold about 40% of the NES stuff that I brought with me. The next one, surprisingly, was Xbox One. I sold a number of Xbox One games. The other ones, PlayStation, not too much, like just one or two games on PS1 and PS2. I think like one Xbox 360 game, and then a few like Sega CD, PC, manuals, my TurboGrafx Mini, sort of stuff here and there. Overall, I made about $1,500, which is all right. I'm actually going to be going to another game exchange. This is the Toronto Game Exchange, which is on October 28th down on the like exhibition grounds. So I will be there as a guest. I think I'm going to be on a panel and I will be selling. So I'll have to figure out how I'm going to make that work. But yeah, that's how the selling is going so far. I also sold my Suikoden 1 and 2 sort of after the show to a friend who never managed to get by my table during the show. So a couple more games sold there. So yeah, I've still got a bunch of stuff though. So hopefully the Toronto show will be even better than the Barrie show was. There was also a new episode of Point and Drink Adventure in September. Michelle was here in Toronto. She was actually at the Barrie Game Exchange helping me sell, which was awesome. And while she was here, we recorded a new episode. We talked about peaches. I made this like lovely peach syrup, so we had a couple different drinks using that, which was really good. And we just talked about the usual, what we've been watching and playing and all that. So be sure to check out that episode if you haven't already. I do actually have some game pickups this week. A nice thing about sorting through the collection and wanting to get rid of a lot of it, it also makes me realize like what I do actually still want. So there were a couple things, actually there was only 2 games I had on my wish list. I couldn't find either of them at Retro World Expo when I was there in August. But my friend Miles was like, hey, I heard you were looking for Board Game Top Shop. He had a copy. So now I have a copy of Board Game Top Shop. So I'm really excited about this. I have not played it yet, but it is sort of a strange looking game about board games, and I love board games. So looking forward to playing this. And the other thing I got was actually something sent for me for press or review purposes. It is Vampire the Masquerade, the New York bundle on Switch. This includes Coteries of New York, which I've played before. I actually have a review of it on my channel. And then Shadows of New York, which I've actually heard is the best of the Vampire the Masquerade visual novels that have come out. So I'm looking forward to playing Shadows of New York, and I will probably make a review on it, probably just like a little short review on it as well. But yeah, just a physical copy, which includes both of those games. So now on to what I've been playing, and after I put out last month's update video, I realized I completely forgot to talk about a game, and that is Broforce Reloaded? I keep getting the subtitle wrong, but Broforce is a sort of pixelated action game that came out for originally a while back, 2014 maybe, and it's been getting new content sort of pretty regularly since then, but they just did a re-release on new consoles with more content, more characters, and I've been playing through this with my Wednesday game night group, and we had a lot of fun with it. It's very like over the top, bro-y, action hero-y, and it's really funny. And it's also very hectic. So it's a fun game, but it could get a little bit overwhelming with 4 people at a time. For one thing, the camera won't let you like leave. The camera is like a shared camera, so it doesn't follow each character, which was a little frustrating at times. And the game is just also, there's just like explosions, and you can destroy the environment, and blocks can fall on your head. And every time you die, you come back as a different bro with different powers. So it can be hard to keep track of exactly which character you're controlling. But overall, it was a lot of fun. Just a very silly, over-the-top game. It could be frustrating at times. It took us a ton of time to beat the final boss, but overall, it was really good. I feel like 2 players might be sort of the sweet spot in terms of having fun with friends, but also not being overwhelmed by what's going on screen at any time. But yeah, it's a good one, and it is on Game Pass if you want to check it out. I actually have a lot of co-op games to talk about. The second thing that I have played, and I guess I'm going to say I've retired it, is Helldivers. I've been playing it online with my friend Dylan. We were looking for a twin stick shooter. By the way, if you know any online co-ops, twin stick shooters, please recommend them, because I had a hell of a time trying to find any that you could actually play online together. Helldivers is very kind of Starship Troopers-y. You're in a never-ending battle against a bunch of different kinds of aliens, and you basically just go, it's kind of procedurally generated, so you go to a planet, you get some objectives, you shoot aliens, you rescue people, you set up satellites, whatever you need to do, and it's pretty fun overall. You sort of level your characters up, you get new abilities, like you can get mech suits and new weapons, things like that. It's a silly game at points as well, because one of the most common ways either of us died was running under a pod or running under the rescue ship, and it'll just crush you and just take you out of the game, which is kind of hilarious, kind of annoying. But Helldivers was very fun. The problem is that it doesn't really end. It's kind of a whole community campaign, so it's not just whoever you're playing with. Like, there's a big campaign that's sort of shared around everyone, and winning it takes probably a lot more people to be playing it than are actually playing this fairly old game. So we did get to a point where I signed on at one point and we lost the war, so I got credits for that, and I'm counting that as a win. But it's a really fun game, just I lose interest if I know that there's not an actual endpoint I'm gonna reach. But yeah, if you like sort of forever games, Helldiver is a lot of fun. More co-op Wednesday night group after we finished Broforce Reloaded and took a quick dip back into new content in World War Z, which is always fun. We played Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 2. And this is a game with a very sort of colorful art style, really cool sort of like cartoony characters. And you are a mobster going through the world, fighting other mobsters, fighting zombies. And this is a game that has an absurd control scheme. Like, you jump with right trigger, I think. It's twin stick, so you do like your movement with left, but which way you're looking with right, even though it's just like a 2D game. It took some getting used to for sure. Once I got used to it though, it was actually quite a lot of fun. This is another one that can get a little hectic with 4 people. You've got, I think, 16 different weapons, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, chainsaws, machine guns, pistols, and you go through the levels just, shooting things. There's occasional boss fight. One thing that I really appreciated here was that the camera just followed your own character. So you could like get as far ahead as people or behind people as you wanted, and the camera would just follow you, and then you could eventually come back together. This was a really fun one as well. Great on 4-person co-op. And we ran into like 1 or 2 bugs. We had one of us got stuck at one point and we couldn't get past a certain checkpoint because they weren't reloading. That only happened like once or twice though. Otherwise, the game played pretty well for 4 people online. And yeah, it was a really fun game too. All right, last co-op game, 39 Days to Mars. This is one I've seen. I don't know where I saw it. It's been on my Xbox wishlist for forever. And this is a couch co-op game. So you play as 2 very poncy, proper British guys, and they are going to Mars in a spaceship that they built themselves. And it's kind of like a little puzzly game. So you go in this spaceship, and something's always breaking because it's just something they made in their backyard. So you'll have to fix something or do navigation, but then they'll be like, oh, I need scones and tea. So you'll need to go make the perfect cup of tea before they'll go and, try to make themselves more fuel or whatever they need to do. The controls could be a little bit fiddly sometimes, but it really makes you work with the person you're playing with. Like when you're making the scones, you need to like scoop up like clotted cream or butter or whatever it is, with each of you like holding one end of the knife so that you can balance it and get it to where it needs to be. So it was a little fiddly in that way, but it was also pretty cool. The different situations that came up throughout the game were pretty amusing. So that was a good one too. This is only couch co-op, but it was fun. I think it was maybe 2 hours as well, so it was also a nice quick one. Okay, finally, some single player games. I've been playing Sherlock Holmes The Awakened for a number of months now, basically since it first came out. And I really like Frogware's Sherlock Holmes games. They've made a lot of them by this point, I think maybe 8, and they've kind of been changing and refining their formula for the mechanics as they go. And I think that this one is definitely the best in terms of doing investigations and deductions and things like that. Sort of with The Devil's Daughter a number of years ago, they kind of tried to make it a little more action-y, which I didn't think really worked. The last one, Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1, really took a lot from The Sinking City, which is another game that they made, and that was pretty cool, although I found it a little too open world for my liking. This one, I thought, did a great job. It's sort of open, like you can travel wherever you want to, but each area is contained. So in this one, you're sort of traveling. So you're in London for a little bit, but just, a small area of London, and you're in New Orleans for a bit, and then you're in a mental hospital, of course. This is a Lovecraft-inspired game, which I am getting pretty tired of Lovecraft-inspired games. And I do think that the overarching story left a little to be desired, but the way the game was presented in chapters, I felt like every chapter was really engaging and really successful. I don't necessarily think it made like the whole story that great, but I'm fine looking at it sort of piecemeal. It's like, I like this chapter, I like this chapter, I like this chapter. So it's really good. You have to navigate on your own in this game. So it's not a game where it's going to just give you an objective marker and you just walk to it. It'll tell you like, I'm looking for a house on this road that has a lion on the gate. So you actually have to look at them. You have all this evidence you're collecting. When you're looking at things or talking to people, you have to pin the right piece of evidence so that you're sort of like making a connection between what you're doing. And then there's kind of a mind palace-y thing where you have to put pieces of evidence together in order to come to conclusions. And I thought it was really fun. There was the occasional puzzle I felt like I needed to brute force, but overall, I think it just really does investigation really, really well. So if you like detective games and Sherlock Holmes games, I think that The Awakened is the best one for me since Crimes and Punishment, which was my previous favorite. I also just recently finished Blasphemous 2, which is one of the games I was most excited about this year. And I think I'm actually going to review that, so I'm not going to say a whole lot about it. I will say I found the Penitent one a little more agile and fun to control, but I did find the sort of gore factor a little bit less, and the bosses a little less cool for the most part. But yeah, I have more to say about that. I will talk about it in review, hopefully in October. And lastly, something I just played last night is Little Misfortune, which is a narrative adventure game where you're playing a little girl whose name is Misfortune, and she is not a fortunate girl. She is like this very sort of happy-go-lucky girl who like throws glitter at things to make them happy, but she has a very rough home life and she's not a lucky girl. Bad things are always happening to her. And then this voice comes and says, hey, let's play a game. If you win, you'll get eternal happiness. So you're kind of just going through the story, and it's mostly about her commentary. I found the game pretty delightful and hilarious despite how dark everything ended up going. You have to make some decisions in what you're doing, and it says it's going to affect things. I don't particularly believe that, but it's just like a good story, very funny, and I really liked the voice acting in it. There was only a couple voices, the Little Misfortune and then Mr. Voice, who's talking to her. He also like breaks the fourth wall and talks to the player. And it was just really good. I think it's made by the people who made Fran Bow, which is another sort of very dark game with a bright and cheery aesthetic. I like this one. It was maybe 3-ish hours long. I was looking for something that I could just, just a little bite-sized game to sink my teeth into. And Little Misfortune was really good. I really liked the writing and the story. So that one was good if you're looking for something like that. All right, so that is it for my September update. Let me know in the comments what you've been playing, if you've gotten any interesting pickups. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.